Hi, it's Linda. This will be the last video that I post this year, and I thought that I would go through some of the books that I've made this year and just show you a few of my favorite pages and explain why, perhaps. So my wish for you is a wonderful new year and that 2023 will bring you many blessings. So let's get started. This is a sample book that I based on a Tracy Fox video. She was making a book like this to have examples of things you can do in a journal, kinds of pockets to make, and just textures and all kinds of different things like that. So I decided to make one. I made this out of a box of some kind of, it had been a cereal box, and covered it with scrapbooking paper and put scrapbooking paper on the inside. And I just have a variety of things here. So the first one that I marked is this page. I made this stamp with the bottom of a bottle. I think that was a Vaseline bottle that I was using on that. And just used it like a stamp. Just inked it and stamped it on the paper. And then this was a regular stamp for the butterfly. And put some lace and some burlap behind it. So for that, my point is, if you don't have something to use, like a border stamp or a label stamp, you can work around that by using what you do have. This one is a corner flip up and tuck combined with a cluster on it. So I made this a long time ago and it hadn't found a home, so I decided to put it in this book for an example. And it just has some various pieces of paper, and there's a paint chip back there, some brown paper, a little bit of fabric. You can write a little bit under here. It's kind of a secret spot to write. And let's see, the next one that I wanted to talk about is this this page. This is scrapbooking paper. This was an 8x8 sheet, and I folded it in so I didn't cut anything off of it. This is all stencils, line stencils and flower stencils. Put a little tab on it there, and put some hydrangea stickers on it, just to tie it in with this and give it a little more interest. And I like the way that came out. It looks soft and interesting to me. And let's see, what else do we have in here? On this page, this is one of the specimen cards that I made, and I ended up using it on this page as a tab. And it is also a tuck spot because I didn't glue it down on this side, so something else could be tucked under there. A little small tag or something that you might want to stick up there. Something like that. You could just stick it under there to add a little more interest. And let's see. This, I just wanted to show that you can add a lot of interest to a page that's pretty plain and doesn't have much going on by just putting on a sticker. And this is one of those kind that's, it's like, almost like it's on vellum, but it's plasticky stuff. And you can see the writing through it, which I think makes it more interesting. And I used a little bit of washi tape down there to kind of tie in the colors. And then the last one in this book is this page that I made a flip up. This is a piece of fabric that I just stamped some postage marks and some numbers. In the background there is some scripts from a big script stamp that I have. And then this is a ruffle I made out of paper. This is some scrapbooking paper that has music on it. And I just pressed it under my sewing machine presser foot and stitched slowly across it to make the ruffle. So that is some things in this book that I particularly liked. I still like this page too with the corrugated cardboard tab on it and the stamping using a piece of corrugated cardboard. Okay, so that's the sample book. Then this book is the one I called my after supper journal because it's made from a Zatarain's jambalaya box, I think it was. And I covered it with scrapbooking paper and put some lace here, dyed lace with coffee dyed. On this page, this page was one that I liked. I just made a tag and put in this pocket. And I think this tag was one that I started out to have this at the top, and I realized I'd put it in upside down. So I just turned it upside down and put that at the bottom and put this piece of lace at the top. And to me, that is an encouragement don't just, oh, this is a mistake and throw it away. Figure out how you can use it and maybe even make it into something that you like better than what you'd originally planned. And this is just a little dress cutout that I did because I had this cat that my friend sent me. It's a little to from card. And I didn't necessarily think this green went too well with this coloring, and I was trying to see if I could make a dress for it, for the cat. And I didn't really like the way it looked. It looks better with the green. So I just tucked that into the pocket with the tag, just as a little something extra there. And this has a laced belly band on it to hold the cat in place, and goes into this window pocket that's made out of a business envelope. Okay, slide in there, kitty cat. There we go. That's watercolor on vellum, and it wrinkles up the vellum just a little bit, but when I glued it down, it seems to be fairly flat there. And just a flip out with a fussy cut bird here. And these were just some watercolor swatches on, and drew around it with a black, this pen, a Micron 05 pen. I think I used the 05. It comes in 1, 3, and 5, and 5 is the most bold. This may be 3. And then on the next page, I have this corner pocket. For this pocket, I used an embossing folder that has snowflakes on it, and this was up at the top, like the snowflakes were farther away and falling down. And I cut it where you don't see any of the snowflakes, so it's more generic. It's not, oh, this is for cold weather. It's for whatever. It's just polka dots. This is a Xerox copy of the back of a photograph, and this is the photographer's information on there, and I just thought that was really pretty. On some of these, I've colored in the roses and the flowers and things when I do that. But on this one, I just liked it. Since this was gray, I just wanted to keep it simple. And for this pocket, I used a die and ran the paper partially through my Big Shot machine to cut this scalloped edge. The die is for an oval shape, so I just went halfway, cut the edge, and then folded it down and put a button in the tie on it. And back here, I have another little card with just one of those stickers and some washi tape on the back. And I used my fussy cut scissor, well, these scissors. They make a scalloped edge. And then inked it with some pink to go with this page with the pink colors there. So think about different ways you can use the materials and the equipment that you have to achieve a look that you'd like. Then my next page that I wanted to talk about is this one. And this was for Meg from Meg Journals, Junk Journal July. The prompt was wallpaper, and I had found this wallpaper that was some of my mother-in-law's paper from John's home when he was a child. And this is my mother-in-law. And even though this is about wallpaper, it kind of morphed into something about my mother and father-in-law, and it was just very sentimental to me. This is another picture of her and John's sister and his dad when he was in the Army during World War II. And these are all Xerox copies of actual photographs, and some of them I reduced in size, and some of them I kept the same size. And I glued the Xerox copy to a piece of cardstock, probably a index card, and used some Distress Oxide ink and a blending brush to age them so that they looked like old photographs. And I think they pretty much look like the actual photograph to the unsuspecting eye. And then on this side is another picture of them. John's mom and dad and John's sister. That was well before he was born. Whoops. So the next one is this page, and I think this was a prompt too, but right now I can't think of what the prompt was. This is scrapbooking paper on this. I used this die punch, which is a 1-inch punch, and cut out several layers of cardstock. Like, I think that was a box, a thinner box, like a medicine bottle kind of box. and some of the scrapbooking paper and made that button to put this flap underneath it to hold it down. And I use that same embossing die to cut the edge on that, and it's just a little journaling spot in there. And then a tag that has embossed script on it with a butterfly there, and a teacup on the back. That's just a rub-on sticker on that. And then on the other side, I put that's stamped always on 2 layers of scrapbooking paper, some jute and some lace together, which I like the contrast between jute and lace. I think it's really interesting. And then this was a little thing that my grandmother had written to my mother. Love, peace, and joy abide with you and all your household, Mom. And I thought the rose was pretty with these other roses in there, and it's a nice place to be able to keep it and not let it get away. Not let it just get lost in everything else. And this was, this is my grandmother who wrote on this paper, and her mother, and the cat's in the dishpan. So this is an actual picture, and I just put it in this pocket with this little card. This is the die that I used to make that. And it's just another little writing place, and adds a little interest behind this paper. Okay, moving on. This page, I had a lot of fun with these 2 pages. This was a prompt, and I think it was torn out or something like that. And I tore this hole in this paper and also used the negative image of that die cut for the frame around it. I made it where this hole frames the watercolor of the rosebud, and it also, when it's turned this way, it frames this little boy and girl. And I did some watercolor around that too. That's washi tape and a little watercolor on some vellum. It was more crinkled up at first than it is now. It's pretty flat after having been in the book. So watercolor is probably not the best medium to use on vellum, but it will work. And that's just some washi tape here. And this was from a postcard. I made a Xerox copy of the image, and then Fussy tore them out and colored them with colored pencils. And that's some ledger that I used my handwriting on behind to decorate it. So that is the after supper journal. Then let's go to this one. This book is what I call Time and Journey. And this is made with a weaving sample on the cover. And this fabric is just some canvas fabric that was in my mother's. I think she used this to make bags. These are plastic buttons. I cut the shank off of the clock face with nail clippers, heavy duty, like toenail clippers. And these didn't have shanks on them. It's kind of a mixed group of things. A stamp journey on that. And then behind here, I left this as a pocket on the front cover, and I have paper behind it so that this slides in and out easily out of the pocket. This was a collage I did on the book page, I think is what it was. It's collage, whatever it's on. And this is a die cut I have that you make a label with, and I used it as a tag, put it on. I didn't put it on with the brads. I put the brads on that, and then I glued it down to the page so that they were not coming through on this side. And I backed it with another one of those die cuts. And then I just used some stamps and things in here. And that's my famous upside down lose your fear of being wrong. Anyway, that's that little book. And I put some stamped tickets at the back. And it goes back in here. Then on the inside, I'm not going over everything in these books because it would take so long, and most of you've probably seen before. And I'm just kind of talking about the things that I like the most. And I see that some of my glue is coming loose. This page is a folded pocket. You fold the paper in half and then in fourths and tuck fold this back and tuck it in and glue it is how you do it. I have a video on making that. And then I just tucked some things. That's just a great toy, First and Fun little label thing. And a ticket that I stamped. And that's just a die cut that I put in there for a little interest. A little something to put there. $2 bills that were, I think that's the Bradford Company or one of those companies that sell things. And it's an Iwo Jima memorial piece. It's an actual $2 bill, but it has this on it. And then I put coffee dyed paper on the back for a writing space. So anyway, you can just stick all kinds of things. That's a tag, and that's like almost like a bookmark stuck in there. So just whatever you want to put in those kind of pockets, and they're fun to make and quick. Laser cut faux wood. It's not actual wood. It comes from the Dollar Tree in a package of, I think there's 6 or 8 in a package of various things. This package had all clock faces in it. Some have keys or hearts or various things, and they're kind of fun to include. Add a little bulk to your book, but it's a nice, interesting thing. On this page, what I wanted to talk about is that I was experimenting using those plastic pieces to run them through my Big Shot machine and see if it would emboss the paper. Well, it kind of did emboss the paper, but it broke up the plastic, and I decided it was probably not a good idea for my machine to do that to it. So this was my experiment, these 2 pages, and I liked the way they looked, so I kept them. And it's coffee dyed paper, and this was one of these clock faces, and it just completely cut it out there. And I put a piece of tea bag over it to make a window there, and also to strengthen this page because this was very fragile right there as well. And a little lace there to reinforce that. My point of these 2 pages is not to get discouraged if your experiment doesn't work out. Perhaps you can use what you have, the result of it in some other way. And even if it's not a success in doing it that way, it can be a success in having the paper. And those are some more of those Tim Holtz ticket stamps. And then at the back, I wanted to just mention this again. This is a little writing board that I made, and the purpose of this is if you're going to write on a page that has, say this page, this wouldn't be necessarily a good page to write on, but this page has a lot of bumpiness on it. You can put your writing board there, and then you have a solid surface to write on this page, or even this page, to have a good place to write. And I just made this with cardboard, and this is scrapbooking paper, and this was a stamped postcard, and I colored that with colored pencils. And it just lives back here in this belly band that I made. And that's a little bit of tea bag that I ruffled up behind a butterfly and Dream with a second die cut behind it that's in brown so that it looks like it has a shadow there. So that is the Time and Journey journal. The next one I wanted to mention is this one. I started out calling it the Yellow Sunshine Journal. And then the Yellow Rose of Texas Journal and Aunt Lala's Letter Journal. So it's a book of many names. I still have not done anything on the cover to have a book plate or anything on it. But this is an open spine journal that I sewed the signatures into these 2 pieces of fabric and covered it with lace. So this page was the first page on the inside, and I made a pocket here for a tag. A little tight there. I glued it down a little too securely. That's a pocket for that tag. These 2 tags go in this pocket. This has a little bit of brown paper behind it, some lace on there. And I made a little pocket down here with some brown paper and this die-cut rectangle. And put the sticker Artist and a piece of that wallpaper on there. And then these 2 tags are in that pocket. And it's just coffee-dyed paper, a little bit of corrugated cardboard. The little rose was more 3-dimensional, but it's been smooshed kind of from being closed up in the book. So I'm just accepting that that's the way it's going to be. And those go in that pocket. And then I made this an up-tuck pocket over here with some vellum, or I think that's tracing paper, some music page, and some old wallpaper that has roses on it. And these 2 postcards are reproductions of old postcards that AMC did, American Movie Classics, as a promotion years ago. I don't know how long I've had these, but more than 20 years, I'm pretty sure. And it has the old cars in it, and course, I like those old cars. And then I made this little piece to go in. I put these two postcards in this pocket, and when you see it on the back, it's not very interesting. So I wanted something pretty to show up in that back space. So I made this little folder with lace on the front, a little bit of tulle netting, and some old fabric, and this butterfly. And then this is a pocket on the inside with, that was a scrap. I had cut these pieces out to use on something else, and I put vellum behind it to make windows so that when I put this in, the design would show through the windows. And that's another one of those cutouts with the punch with a piece of wallpaper and some napkin. This is napkin, printed napkin that I glued on here. And I glued some on there as well. And then on the back, I just wrapped the napkin around to the back. And I put a little bit of this napkin on the tab. That goes in there. And then this is just a piece of coffee dyed paper that's glued down with a stamped image of a compass and a butterfly and a little bit of lace behind it. And on the back, I have a stamp that has this postcard image on it. And I stamped it on some tracing paper. And it was not very well stamped right here in the middle. So I put one of these rub-on flowers in that place where this would show, it would show through here. And I put a stamp. This is an actual postage stamp that I put there to show it through that. So when I put this into this pocket, I put the butterfly. You could put it either way, but I put the butterfly on the inside so that it shows through here. This page has multiple pockets on it. Oops, I'm moving my whole setup here. This is this pocket I made with a window with some tracing paper and some gold machine stitching on it with some little stickers. And that's a piece of the wallpaper that Fussy cut out. This was a sticker, and I thought the roses were similar and looked pretty together. And I did faux stitching with a pin around the edge of this tag. It's not really a tag. It's more of a journal card. A little lace, a little ribbon. And on the back, I put the ribbon across the top. And this is a stamp I have. And what I did on this is I stamped it in yellow, and then I went back with a pen and colored in the leaves on it. And added a little bit more dimension with another brown pencil there. So that goes into the pocket. And the lace just kind of goes over the top. And it almost looks like, okay, that's the pocket. So in a way, that could be a secret writing spot. This tag has a pocket on the front that I put these tickets in, stamped tickets. And this was a die cut that I cut out a scalloped piece and put the music page behind the hole there. And that's a sticker. A little lace, a little bling. I stapled that on, and I put the bling on there to cover up the staple a little bit. On the back, I put some coffee dyed paper and mostly covered up the staples. That kind of has a bump there, but that's okay. And I'm finding out that my glue is not as strong as I thought it was. I need to go back through my books and re-glue. Okay, on this page, I did this off camera, so I thought I would show you what I did with that. This is a stencil that I bought at Dollar Tree. It's butterflies, and I just thought those were particularly pretty butterflies. And I used yellow and vintage photo and distress oxide to stencil those on there. And this is just the corner of an envelope, and it has a pretty stamp on it. I just thought I'd have a little up-tuck pocket there. And then to have something to put into that pocket, I just put this die-cut piece and a stamped-out piece of wallpaper there and put a butterfly stamp on it and a little bit of ribbon at the top. And so that's a writing place there, journaling spot. And it just goes up in that pocket. This one I did on camera, and it's just a lace piece over this, out of a day book, a calendar, to make an up-tuck pocket, and I put this tag in it. I put the tag cut at the bottom with the hole punch and reinforced in one of the bulb pins with a tag on it that says Dreamer, which I thought was kind of nice to go with that picture of Dreamer. And there's writing space there, and you could also write here if you wanted to. And the lace covers it up, so it's kind of a secret spot in a way. And I have not covered up the back of those brads there. Okay, on this page, this started out, this is an envelope on this side, and this is the place it comes through. I stitched it into the signature through the flap, and it came up here, and I wasn't too happy with the way it looked, so I decided to put some scrapbooking paper behind it, and I had this gray that I put back there, and I still didn't care for that too much, so I put this lace over the top of it, and it is a side tuck there. And to go in it, this is another antique postcard that I made a Xerox copy of, and then colored it with colored pencils. I glued it to an index card, I think is what that is, and used the scissors to make the scalloped edge on it to make it pretty. So that's a writing spot there. This page is out from a novel, and I put gesso over it and splattered it with gold paint. I put that there, and then the butterfly is stamped on some tracing paper, I think is what that is, and it's got plastic over it and lace in there and stamp there. And so I just thought that looked pretty with the rose stamp there. And I think that is all in this book. I still haven't finished the back of it. A lot of these projects are still in progress. And then this is my gratitude journal from November. And I had a couple of things I wanted to just show you again in this book. On this page, I had these little tags that I cut out with my punch. I have a punch that is that shape. And so I made 3 of those to go in here, and I just wrote something on the back of them about travel. I had bought this die, and I tried them out. This paper was something I had tried it out on, and I had never done anything with it. And I decided to put some vellum behind it and make it into a pocket for this page. And then when I got it on, this over here looked so plain that I decided to take a laminated piece of paper that was a bookmark and ran it through the same die, and then used that as a stencil to put the gray on the page. And I kind of like the way that looks. So it kind of evolved, and that's kind of how my designing goes. It's like I do something and I either like it or I don't like it. And if I don't like it, I want to change it to do something else to it. If I do like it, I usually am thinking, well, what else can I do? That's just an example of kind of how I design, for whatever that's worth. This page is my crow page, and I have a video on this that apparently most people don't care about crows. But anyway, I made these stamps using that craft foam and cut them out with my craft knife and stamped it on this, and it bled through, so I just re-stamped on the other side of it as well. So that was, I guess, my lesson there is keep trying, keep working on it. It'll be fine in the end. And then on this page is another kind of similar thing to use. I cut out and glued these dragonflies from a notepad that I had, and I didn't think it looked like enough dragonflies. I also had a dragonfly stamp, so I stamped some blue dragonflies on there to go with these blue dragonflies. So that was how I solved the problem of not enough dragonflies. And this book did not get finished with my gratitude, I'm sorry to say. I can still do it later, I suppose. And that's the back page there. I'll show you this little booklet. I don't think I talked about it. These were place cards that I got for like 90% off the original cost because it was after fall. I think it was spring when I bought them, and it was on clearance. And I thought they would make cute little books. So I just put a few scrap pages in here and stapled it together and put it in this pocket. And that's the Bee Skip. And I think when I did this, I also made this little book. These are made out of file folders. And I was doing this one at the same time, and I can't remember what my point was about it. But I never did show you how I finished it. I think I was showing how I put it together or something like that. And anyway, I put some lace on this and lace here. It's pretty much naked. It doesn't have a whole lot of embellishment. That's a piece of a thank you card I'm probably going to put some kind of tuck or something there to keep him. And just some various pages throughout. I put this bicycle sticker here on that page. It's blues and brownie colors. Lots of tea dyed, ink dyed. That one's plain there. Just mainly a writing journal that could be embellished some more. So this page has that embossed script on it. And the front side, to make it where you could write on the back of it, I just put a piece of tracing paper back there to make it a smoother surface, and laces the tab. So that, I think, is all that I have to show today, other than these books. These are the ones I did in my last video, so if you're interested in them, you can go back and look at that. I hope that you have a blessed rest of this year, the 3 or 4 days that are left, and that next year is especially good for you, and that we all use our time wisely and have a good time while we're doing it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next year. Bye. Tab on there. I have such a hard time keeping tag and tab separated. And put a little more of the napkin on the tab. Put a little bit of, and I put a little bit of the napkin on the tab. And I put a little bit of the napkin on the tab. How many times am I going to do this?